Hi everyone, I hope you're well. In this episode, we're going to look at how to get into veterinary school. Anna is an absolutely outstanding student, and she's going to talk through some things that helped her get into one of the leading veterinary colleges in the country. So, without further ado,
I'm not sure how much you all already know about veterinary medicine, but I'll try and tell you everything I wanted to know this time last year. So starting off, there's 10 veterinary schools that you can apply to in the UK. I could probably try and list them. There's Surrey, Liverpool, Keele, Cambridge, RVC, Nottingham, and then there's Edinburgh, Glasgow, and Aberystwyth. So not many choices, but you only get 5 on your UCAS, and only 4 of them you can use for veterinary medicine. The 5th one needs to be for a different course because veterinary medicine is so competitive that UCAS are just looking out for you in case you don't get any offers first time around. So I think first of all, what you could start doing is look at the different universities, check their requirements because they all have different GCSE grade boundaries, and I know that's a bit different this year because you didn't get to sit them, so I think they'll be a lot more flexible about that. I actually only got a grade 6 in my chemistry GCSE and I still got an offer, so they're not that bothered about GCSEs anyway, don't worry about that. So yeah, have a look at the grade requirements, and also for the A levels, I think you'll all be doing A levels, and check their third A level because they all ask for chemistry and biology, and some of them ask for any other A level, and some of them ask for another science. So if you're doing chemistry, biology, and art, you want to make sure you're applying for a university that says you can have art or whatever subject you're doing. So just double check them all because they're all a bit different. And then you can start looking at which cities you prefer, and different universities have sort of, they all study all animals, but some of them have more speciality. For example, I know Liverpool is very equine based. They have a lot of equine facilities, whereas some might have less. Or I know Nottingham goes to zoos a lot and is very good at exotics if you're more interested in that. So, or maybe you don't have a speciality in mind yet and you just want to work with animals, then go wherever. But they're all good for everything. Wherever you get into, you'll be happy. So the next thing I should mention is work experience, because that is one of the biggest things when you're applying. I know that this year has been horrible because you can't go anywhere, even if you've been trying to because of COVID. So this summer will be a good chance, if everything really does start opening again, to apply for loads of work experience. I don't know how the universities will do it, and I'm sure they don't know yet either. They might be more flexible again with the work experience, or they might have requirements. I know for my year, the universities, obviously not a lot of us had work experience, so they said, okay, well, we'll give you a new time limit, or we won't be too harsh on how much work experience you have. And another way you can get them now, the new savvy way, is online work experience. I know some universities accepted that. So I think we've all had an email today, a really good one, and it had an online veterinary work experience. So I'd have a look at that because this year a lot of the universities accepted that as a week of work experience. And I know it's quite good. Another one I looked at today, it's called
and Anna, sorry, could
Yeah.
you just repeat that? The internet you just stalled. So what
Oh,
was
did
it?
I?
Work experience.
So work experience, I was just saying that they'll be very flexible, I think. Well, I can't say I don't know what the universities will do, but I think they'll take into account the circumstances we've been under. So don't worry too much yet. You've got a lot of time. And the online stuff, there was an email today with online work experience that's good. And I saw a thing today called Vet Mentor, and they're also doing online work experience. So if you search about and look for online work experience, if you're worried about not getting any physical stuff yet, you will find some good stuff, and some universities will accept that as work experience. So, but if you're looking for the physical stuff as well, because that is very important. I mean, obviously, you want to know if you can handle sort of the gruesome stuff, because it is quite a gross course. So what I did when I was trying to get work experience is I wouldn't just email one place at a time. I'd email maybe 4 or 5, for example, like a veterinary clinic. And I'd say, hi, I'm Anna, I'm studying my A-levels. I want to be a vet student and I need work experience. Could I possibly come down and just shadow you for a bit? And what you'll find most of the time is that they reply and say, no, you're too young, which is really annoying because obviously you'll only be 16 or 17 and you'll be dying to get the experience and you need it. But if you keep doing that in batches, emailing maybe a few at a time, you'll find eventually some of them will say, yeah, come and get our experience, and it'll be like gold. You'll be like, thank you. So yeah, my advice for trying to get work experience is maybe email a few at a time, give them the dates you're available. So if it's in summer, say I'm available all summer except this week, you know, for example, just so that they can then say, why not just slot them into here and have some. The maximum grade requirements, all of the universities again are different. I think usually Liverpool's work experience requirements are the highest out of all the universities. So if you find you meet Liverpool's requirements for work experience, you will probably meet them all. But yeah, again, it's just which university you're interested in, have a look at the different requirements. Yeah, and while you're on the work experience, you know, ask lots of questions. I found sometimes it could feel a bit awkward because you can't do anything to help. You're not a surgeon yet. You can't, you know, go and get in a dog's face. So just hang in there, you know, just listen. It's really good because it sort of puts all the veterinary vocabulary in your head and you don't realise it until like I was speaking to my parents once about something I'd seen and they were just like, I have no idea what you're saying, because you do get used to the veterinary language. So you're not there to learn, you know, how to do surgery or anything. You're just there to see how the vets act, you know, what's a professional vet like, you know, really just to watch, just to see what it's like. And there's lots you can do. Some of them need to be clinical and some of them just need to be husbandry. For example, I would go and work in a cattery, just mucking out cats, or you can go lambing. That's a really good one, just watching lots of little baby lambs be born, spraying iodine on their bellies, things like that. So yeah, work experience is a very important part of the application, but I think they will be flexible with it this year because everyone's had quite rubbish circumstances because of COVID. And so yeah, we'll see how that turns out. But online work experience is always good to fall back on, because I think they will allow that this year. So the personal statement as well, when you're writing it for UCAS, that won't be for a while, you know, you don't have to do that for about half a year. But while you're thinking about it, I would say most people's work experience, they're talking a lot about, most people's personal statements, they're talking a lot about lots of random things, whereas I found I made my personal statement quite animal vet based. So I would talk about a lot of my reflections on my work experience, and then maybe a few qualities about what qualities I have that would make a good vet, you know, applying it to veterinary circumstances. So yeah, I think the personal statement is a good time to you know, flex all your veterinary qualities and everything you know, and just really reflect on it. Really, my personal statement was just a big list about what I thought about the veterinary profession. Another thing about the application is interviews. So the interviews, obviously, you will apply to the veterinary school, and if they like your application, they'll send you back an interview invite. Very exciting. That's usually around October, but it can be all the way to March. You know, people in my year, some of them still haven't had their interviews yet. They're just finishing them off now. So it's a long, stressful wait, but it's worth it. I'd say for the interviews, there's not a lot of sort of, while you're researching it, you're not trying to research, you know, how to do surgery or all the animal anatomy. You know, they don't expect you to know that yet. You know, you're going to veterinary school for a reason. They don't expect you to be an expert. What they do want you to know is researching topics around veterinary medicine. So there's a lot you can find just on the internet or in books. I've actually got one here that I thought I'd recommend. It's called Animal Ethics in Us, just so you can see what it looks like if you want to have a look at it. It's very full on because this is from someone who's researched veterinary, and you know, it's a hard read. You have to read each sentence quite a lot of times. That's just one example. You don't have to read that book to do an interview. But I liked it because that was very ethicsy, and what I found was that the interviews are very based around ethics, because obviously in veterinary it is a very ethical thing. You know, animals are involved in people's jobs, they're people's beloved pets, or you know, all sorts. So looking at the ethics of things is interesting. You can also research, you know, women in veterinary medicine. It's suddenly become a very woman-based profession. Why? How's that affected it? Is it good? Is it bad? Things like a lot of women will be part-time workers because lots of people go and have children, and is this good for the profession? Is this a good work-life balance, or does this mean there's not many vets because there is a big vet shortage? You can research Brexit. How did that affect vets? You know, the roles of vets. You know, not every single vet is just a surgeon in a room. What else do they do? You know, inspecting meats or things like that. So there's also the mental health of the veterinary profession. It's not a fun topic. The mental health of vets, the suicide rates in the veterinary profession are one of the highest. So they want you to know about that, how you would manage things like that, how they don't want you to say, I'm a hard worker, all I do is work. I do nothing but work. I don't see my friends. I cut them all off and do work. They want you to say, I know how important it is to take time off and look after myself. So definitely research the mental health aspect. I think is one of the most important things. You know, the diversity in veterinary medicine is not that great at the minute. So do a bit of research on that, maybe how that could change. So yeah, interviews, don't panic about them. They're not quizzing you. They're not going to sit you down and say, do all this maths. They really just want to know about you. So just be honest. You know, give all your opinions. Sometimes their questions, there's no right or wrong answer. They're really just seeing, what is your answer? How do you think it through? So I can't tell you exactly what I was asked in my interviews because I promise not to. You know, I sign a contract, but I could give you, or I'll give Tony Payne my email, and come September, if you think I'm so stressed about this interview, I could maybe give a practice interview to some of you. I'd be really happy to do that. I had one practice interview before mine, and I know it really helps. You know, it's just nice to, because most of us haven't had an interview in our lives yet. You know, it'll be the first interview. So yeah, maybe have a think about that. Obviously, this is 6 months away, so you've got a lot of time to research things and you know, practice. I used to get my parents to ask me random questions that they think would come up in an interview. You know, it's not all vet based. Sometimes it's just, what good qualities do you have, and things like that. So I would definitely say, though, don't stress too much about the interview, because that'll just make it harder. You know, it is really scary though, I know. And the wait, you know, sometimes they interview in October and they don't get back to you till March. And that can be a stressful thing, because during that time, most of your friends, if they're applying to courses that aren't veterinary medicine, they get a reply within a week and they all get 5 offers and you're sat there with nothing. And it can be hard. But just remember, you know, every veterinary medicine student or dentistry student or medicine student is going through that too. So don't rush it. You know, patience is hard. I really do know, but you get rewarded. Also, research the RCVS. That's the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons. You will become a member of them if you graduate veterinary medicine. They've got things like the code of conduct, day one competencies. These aren't things I'm telling you to memorize and know by heart, because it's basically a long list, a very long list of how to be a good vet. But, you know, skimming over them, having a look, there's things like the definition of euthanasia, things, useful things that you'll suddenly just pick up, like a vet is not, they don't have to euthanize an animal if they don't want. And that's always interesting, you know, just spitting them out in interviews, making you look that extra bit clever will be really good for you. Or the 5 freedoms, they are another thing you could look at. They are just 5 things basically that an animal requires that a healthy, happy animal would have. This is a lot of information that I'm throwing at you. You don't have to know all of this, honestly. This is just some of the reading you could do. You don't have to know everything. They'll quiz you, and you'll have time to write out your personal statement slowly and think about it. So I hope I'm not scaring you. It is a very long, very complicated process, but it's perfectly possible. And so don't panic yourself about it. And the fact that you're here now shows that you are preparing early. You're already thinking about it, which is really good. Another thing that I was often asked to do in my application was questionnaires. So they sort of sent me out questionnaires, and they'd have ethical scenarios, and I would have to put what I think would be best, which is why work experience is good, because usually I know the answer, because I'd think, I think I saw that in some of my work experience, and this is what the vet did, or this is how they talk to their clients. So that's another thing they'll do in their interview. And another thing I wanted to talk about is the pathways to veterinary medicine, because it's such a competitive course. You probably already know it's very hard to get onto, but I'm living proof that it's not impossible. You know, I have 2 offers, and I'm sure you will all get an offer eventually if you want. But I do want to say that not everyone gets an offer the first year round. In fact, most people don't. Probably more than half don't get an offer in the first year that they apply. So then you have multiple paths that you could take. You could take a gap year and reapply, or resit A levels, you know, whatever the reason. Maybe you just didn't get an offer, but you got the A levels. So then reapplying in a gap year would be good. Or you can use your 5th choice to go and do another degree and then come back to veterinary medicine. So you can do bioveterinary science, which isn't surgery. It's just sort of a 3-year course. Or you can do zoology. That's what I applied for. Or, you know, veterinary nursing. So there's a lot of courses. That they are just the 3 main ones, but there's so many you could do. However, the graduate entry, you know, doing 1 degree and then coming back, that is a very expensive route to go down, because in your 2nd degree, you won't get student finance. So you will have to pay for that course yourself. And that is something you need to take into account, you know, whether you can actually afford that, because a lot of people can't, or, you know, how would you do that? Maybe you'd take a few years off, get a job, come back to veterinary medicine. But the moral is that however you do it, you know, you will eventually become a vet, and it's not just a one-way thing. You know, not everyone does the same thing. So don't be disheartened if you don't get an offer in the first year. in saying that, you know, you might get an offer in the first year. I'm not saying you won't. I'm just saying, you know, don't let it put you off that most people don't get in the first year, because especially taking a gap year, then most people do get an offer. I personally, you know, if I don't get the grades this year, because I've come so close, I think I will take a gap year and I'll come back to it. Because I just think it's really what I want to do. But some people disagree. Some people say going and doing another course is a better way. So yeah, that's up to you. Have a little research about the different pathways into veterinary medicine, and I think that's all I can think of that I would have liked to know, unless there's any questions that I'd be happy to answer.
And Anna, can I ask, why do you think you managed to get offers? What made you different, do you think?
I think I'd say when I was doing my interviews, they could tell I'd done my research. So it's quite easy to weave out the people that haven't, you know, just simple questions or and I think on my personal statement, I really showed that I'd done my research and that I was really interested. You know, sitting in an interview and just saying, I have a passion for veterinary medicine, I really want to do it, that's not going to convince them. You need to sort of prove it. So it'll take a lot of time to prove that, but you can definitely do it. And I think the online work experience will help with that, because there'll be a lot of information in them.
Okay, can you see the questions that are coming through, Anna?
Oh, I'll get them up on my phone. Is there an entrance exam like there is for medicine? There is not, which is a nice little perk, I think. But like I was saying about the questionnaires, they're sort of like your entrance exam, but they are not maths questions like in medicine. They are, you know, someone's come in and said, will you euthanize my healthy dog? What do you do? And then there's sort of multiple choice answers. And you pick what you think's best, or you rank them. So, however, I think Cambridge does have an entrance exam. I didn't apply to Cambridge, so have a look at that. I'm not sure if they do it anymore, but I know that the other 9 schools don't. Are all the entry requirements generally 3 A's? Nearly every single one is 3 A's. Cambridge asks for 1 A star, and then there's 3 other universities that ask for AAB. That's Surrey, Harper and Keele, which is 1, and Nottingham. But usually they will ask for the B in the 3rd subject, so they still really want an A in biology and chemistry. I know that Keele, they say we want an A in biology. They want AAB. A has to be biology, but then if you're doing maths, maybe if you get an A in maths and a B in chemistry, they'll still let you in. So they're all very different, but generally, yeah, it's 3 A's. My other option that wasn't veterinary, I picked zoology because I wasn't quite sure I wanted to do bioveterinary, because it sort of seemed a bit mean on myself. It was like almost what I wanted to do, but not. And I thought zoology looked really interesting. So that would be 3 years, and then I'd come back. And I did get an offer for zoology, but I have decided in my head that if I don't get in this year, I will go around again and apply again until I get in. In your opinion, which universities would you say are the best to apply to? I really honestly think it's completely up to you. It's your opinion. When I was like in year 11 and I wanted to apply to Nottingham, and then in year 12 I wanted to apply to Liverpool, and now my first option is Surrey. I applied to Liverpool and I didn't get in, and I thought, I've been rejected from my first offer, this is the end of the world. It really wasn't. And now that I've got an offer from Surrey and Keele, I'm really not bothered at all. So what you'll find is that it's not the place you want to go, it is the course. And you only need one offer to get into the course. People don't get 4 offers, a lot of people just get 1. So you will be happy anywhere. Have a look at some universities are a lot more practical. Like I know Nottingham and Liverpool and things, they are very hands-on, whereas Cambridge, they are more, you do a lot of, for 3 years, it's just no clinical until the last few. So yeah, have a look at what you prefer. Do you prefer a campus university, a city university? What you'll find with veterinary is that whichever university you go to in the final year, you'll probably end up in a field with a lot of cows. And all your other friends will have graduated, so you'll be happy wherever you are. Yeah, so anywhere really, have a look at them. Do you apply for veterinary at the same time as you apply for all university courses, or is it earlier? So you have to send your application off by the end of September, but most other sort of normal courses that are less competitive, they have until like January. So you have to send in your application by September, but it doesn't actually end there, because then you start getting your questionnaires, in October, November, and then a few months after that you have your interview. So you actually have to be, you have to apply earlier, but you'll probably get your result a lot later than other people will. What was the feedback on why you didn't get into Liverpool? So they actually, some universities don't give you feedback on why you get in, and some of them do. Liverpool sent me an email and said, if you want your feedback, email us in August and we'll tell you. I have no idea why they would take so long to give me my feedback. I suppose it's just the way they do it. I suspect it was because of my interview. My interview was quite awful. I knew it when I came out. And that's one of the things you'll find is sometimes you're lucky and sometimes you're not with the interview. Some of mine were amazing and some of them were not. Don't let one bad interview make you think, oh God, I'm awful at interviews. You won't be. They're just different. Liverpool asked me a lot of equine questions, and I don't have a lot of experience with that, so it wasn't my fault. I just didn't know. Whereas I found that I preferred the interviews that asked me more ethical scenarios. So yeah, it'll just be your skill set. You'll probably end up at the university that suits you most, because the interview will pick you up there. Where am I up to? How would you suggest to prepare for an interview? So the best preparation you can have is just doing your research. I think actually I'll send you a link of a very good website I know that has online work experience and more information on how to apply and things. But I think the most preparation I did really was going over my work experience. Oh, another piece of advice I would give, sorry, that's just come to my head, is as you do work experience, if you can get any over summer or if you do it all online, it really depends on how COVID, turns out and treats you. I would say every single thing you do, write down somewhere, even if it's just your phone notes or a piece of paper somewhere. Write down what you've done and for how many hours, and what you saw, what you did, because a lot of the time, part of the process for applying, they would send me a work experience sheet, and they'd say, can you put down all the exact hours you spent doing one thing, and can you say what you did or what you saw or your reflections on it? And they'd also ask for references, which is another important thing. So they want, the email address of the place I went to, and they want a reference saying, yeah, Anna did come and watch me do surgery for a week. So as you do your work experience, write it all down, because you'll probably forget as well. I had to, before my interview, read over all the things I saw and did just to refresh my brain. And you'll need a reference, not for all of them. I know for Surrey, a big thing is they want references from most of the places you went, you know, with a titled piece of paper. So definitely have a look at, you know, I mean, have a think about taking notes on everything and getting your references. The final application date in UCAS is 5th of October. 15th, yeah, that sounds about right. It is right. So yeah, you've got to apply pretty early before all your mates will. But I think I prefer that, you know, getting it all done and then the horrible wait. How long did you do your work experience and where did you do it? So, because I got in very early, I've known for a long time I wanted to be a vet. Not a lot of people have. So a lot of people get it in the summer before they apply. I actually got mine sort of spread out over years from like 2018 to 2020. So I had about 2 weeks in a clinical practice just watching surgery, and then I had about a week of lambing, you know, a week of working at a cattery. There's a place, there's a course at Blackpool Zoo that you can do where you go and feed some animals and learn about them. However, you have to pay for that, and it's quite expensive. I think it is about £100. So that's up to you. It's not a requirement though. You know, paying for work experience, you can get most of it free, and you should try and get it free because you're just trying to learn. So yeah, what they ask for really is a variation. They like to see a bit of farm animal. They like to see a bit of companion animal, which is just pets, exotics if you can, and equine. You know, just doing what you can. So husbandry and clinical, there's a big difference. I think the most they will ask you, you know how I said Liverpool is like the maximum work experience requirements. I think they ask for 2 weeks of clinical and maybe 2 or 3 weeks of husbandry. But I know that Cambridge don't have a minimum requirement. They just say get as much as you can. Some people have different opportunities. You know, some people are a vet's child and are surrounded by vets and contacts. Some people live in the middle of Manchester near no farms and don't have as many advantages. So get as much as you can. Remember as well that most of the universities will say 6 or 7 hours is a day. So if I went and worked 2 hours at a cattery, I'd think, well, that's not a day. But if I did that 3 times, I could then say I did 1 day. So that's why it's important to write down how many hours you've done, because then at the end, after about 6 months, you can add it all up and that will help. The college has an internal deadline to make sure you get everything done in good time, hence Anna mentioning September. Yeah, so and that'll be just so that Zavarian can check what you've done, check you've done it right or well, or you'll get help from college. So if you send in your personal statement, you can ask for your teachers or your pastoral manager to have a look at it and see if they can make improvements or say, yeah, that's good. Check your whole UCAS application. So yeah, you'll get a lot of support from the college if you need. And yeah, so write down everything you do lots of research, you know, reading, even just online, or get as much work experience as you can. It's very hard to get it, but like I said, I think the best way to do to get some is to send an email to maybe 5 or 6 different places, wait for their responses, and see if any of them reply, because it's so hard to get them, because a lot of them either say come back when you're 18, which is annoying because I'm not even 18 yet and I finished my application, or they say sorry, we don't do students. So you'll find a lucky place. I went to a clinical place called Woodcroft veterinary centre. So Woodcroft is a good place to try if you're looking for clinical. There was an equine place, I can't remember the name, I could find it and put it in the chat, that I almost went to, but then COVID-19. Working at a cattery, I went to a place called Society for Abandoned Animals. You'll find most of the RSPCA say we want you to be 18. So yeah, just search places near you that you think you'll be able to go to, get their emails, send them an email, and hopefully they'll let you get some experience there. Yeah, that's all the advice I can think of, unless there's any more questions.
That's been absolutely fantastic, Anna. That was so good. You've answered all the questions I had written down, so I don't need to bother you. That's absolutely brilliant. So yeah. If anybody's got any other questions, if you want to drop them in, and if you can't do it now, if you send me a message and I'll make sure that Anna gets it. Yeah,
thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I wish you all good luck with your application.
Big thanks to Anna there for some amazing advice. I hope that's helped. There'll be a link in the About section, and if you have anything to comment, please do so. And hopefully, don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe and all that business. And hopefully we'll see you soon. Bye bye.